Pivotal events have a way of attracting harmful myths and conspiracy theories. This goes for great achievements like the moon landing, which Buzz Aldrin punched a guy for denying, as well as great tragedies like Martin Luther King's assassination, the 9/11 attacks, and the Titanic disaster. Late in the evening of April 14, 1912, the RMS Titanic hit an iceberg and sank into the icy waters of the North Atlantic, killing 1,517 of the 2,223 passengers and crew members aboard. To make sense of this tragic and seemingly random disaster, people over the past century have told stories of ominous signs of bad luck that were supposedly ignored beforehand or spun elaborate conspiracy theories to explain the real reason it sank. Here, we explain the most enduring conspiracy theories and myths about the tragedy. JP Morgan planned the disaster to kill his rivals. According to this theory, millionaire banker JP Morgan planned the Titanic disaster to kill off rival millionaires Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim, who all perished aboard. The theory hinges on the fact that Morgan had originally planned to sail on the Titanic but changed his mind shortly before it took off. Yet it doesn't offer any explanation for how he caused the ship to hit an iceberg and killed over 1,500 people, let alone the 3 men he supposedly intended to die. To top it off, the theory claims Morgan wanted to kill them because they opposed the creation of the Federal Reserve, even though Astor and Guggenheim don't appear to have taken a position on it, and Strauss actually supported it. Alternative versions of this theory claim that Rothschild banking family or the Jesuits were the ones who arranged Astor, Strauss, and Guggenheim's deaths on the Titanic. As the Washington Post notes, invoking the Rothschilds as international conspirators is a centuries-old anti-Semitic trope. The Rothschild family founded banking houses across Europe in the early 1800s, and they have been a favorite target of conspiracy theorists ever since. This theory resurfaced recently in connection with QAnon, a far-right conspiracy theory detailing a supposed secret plot by an alleged deep state against US President Donald Trump and his supporters. The Titanic never sank. People seem to love a good insurance fraud story, so maybe it's unsurprising that this conspiracy theory is one of the Titanic's most popular. This one posits that someone switched the Titanic with another White Star Line ship, the RMS Olympic. But as Paul Burns, Vice President and Curator for the Titanic Museum attractions in Missouri and Tennessee, points out, it just doesn't make any sense. This theory starts with the fact that the Olympic was damaged while sailing from the Southampton, England to New York in September 1911 and had to return to Harland and Wolff's shipping yard in Belfast for repairs. The company repaired the Olympic and it sailed to New York and back. It returned to Belfast for more repairs in March 1912, a few weeks before the Titanic set sail. The conspiracy theory claims that some person or people found the Olympic too severely damaged to be profitable and so at some point switch it with the Titanic to purposefully ditch the damaged ship, rip the insurance money, and it seems kill a bunch of people in the process. There are a lot of holes in this theory, but one of the biggest is that the Titanic's insurance wasn't enough to cover the Olympics' loss. A mummy's curse doomed the Titanic. One of the passengers who went down with the Titanic was William Stead, a British editor who subscribed to early 20th century spiritualism and had spent the past several years claiming a cursed mummy was causing mysterious destruction and disaster in London. As with other myths about Egyptian curses in Native American burial grounds, this myth played off of colonialist anxiety about the people whose land they had plundered. On board the Titanic, Stead happily repeated his tale of the mummy's curse to other passengers. After the ship sank, a survivor recounted Stead's story to the New York World, and the media picked it up. The next month, the Washington Post ran this headline: Ghost of the Titanic, Vengeance of Voodoo Mummy followed man who wrote its history. Burns says some people link the mummy's curse to Egyptian artifacts that survived, and hero Margaret Brown really did take with her on the Titanic to deliver to a museum in Denver. In other versions of the story, the mummy was actually aboard the Titanic because the British Museum had sold it to an American who was shipping it home, Snopes reports. But the truth is, the so-called unlucky mummy is still at the British Museum and no mummy was ever loaded onto the ship. It was an iceberg, not a curse, that sank the Titanic. The ship's number reads No Pope backwards. One myth posits that Catholic employees of Harland and Wolff, the Belfast company that built the Titanic, were distressed that the ship's number 390904 seemed to say No Pope when viewed in a mirror. Was this a sign of bad luck that foretold the ship's doom? The late Titanic historian Walter Lord wrote that he received letters from people in Ireland relaying this no pope story beginning in the mid-1950s. Yet as Burns pointed out in his 1986 book, The Night Lives On, there was no such number attached to the Titanic. The whole number painted on the ship was 401, the same as its yard number at Harland and Wolff, and its Board of Trade number was 131428. Yet even if one of its numbers had read No Pope, there weren't any Catholic workers at Harland and Wolff for it to upset. The company had driven its Catholic employees away in the late 1800s, and by the 20th century, Harland and Wolff had a reputation for only employing Protestants, writes Annie Caulfield in Irish Blood, English Heart, Ulster Fry. Despite this reality, Paul Burns of the Titanic Museum attractions in Missouri and Tennessee says that visitors still occasionally ask about this myth. Jack Dawson is Jay Gatsby. This one is actually about the 1997 Titanic movie, and it's a fan theory, but still, there is a theory on the internet that Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Titanic and his character in The Great Gatsby are the same person. The movie is obviously an alternate timeline where he survived the sinking of the ship and went on to build a life for himself in America in an attempt to reunite with Rose, according to Tor.com, a science fiction and fantasy site. He survives, builds himself into a party-going showman in the Jazz Age, in hopes that Rose will one day appear, but ends up finding love with another woman, Daisy. Because this one is about fictional characters in film, it isn't something we can prove or disprove, and it's up to you to decide if Jack really is the Great Gatsby. Now you know. For more amazing stories, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell button.